could give an amoral speech. Excellent game. Very enjoyable. Wish I weren't here. Go home play.
Have you got a minute to talk?
Of course. Plague on Omega dealt with. Plenty of time to analyze collector intelligence. Impressive laboratory.
The first game was an RPG that was dressed up like a shooter, but this is a shooter that has a lot of RPG components.
It's like Gears of War with dialogue trees now.
Right. But I mean, I think people are going to say, oh, it's not an RPG because you don't have stats and crap. But I think that's kind of...
Well, there are a lot of stats, but they kind of let them like sit behind the scenes.
Right, but I mean, even that's spurious because the core of a BioWare RPG is the dialogue tree.
It's world building, exploration.
And this game does that.
I assume everything is going well up here?
I really want a chance to put the Normandy through her paces. I just have to trim up the drive output and it'll be like we never lost her.
Safety standards advise against manipulating drive settings while engines are powered and in use, Mr. Moreau.
Commander, can we shut this thing off? I don't need it in my day-to-day.
I have to give BioWare credit. Each person is actually very interesting on their own.
All the characters seem more interesting than the characters in the first game. There's no one who bores me like Kaiden. There are a lot of laugh-out-loud moments in the background dialogue.
Yeah.
Incidental environmental dialogue. Like, I got to the Citadel and I was cracking up.
The games
There's the chef.
kiosk. Oh, yeah.
The games kiosk.
Games kiosk. They reference like WoW, they reference the DRM from the first Mass Effect. Like, it's very self-referential.
Have you tried Galaxy of Fantasy yet? I love that game. It's based on Turian mythology, but it's really fun. I hear it has 11 billion players now.
I think they've been able to create worlds that are more interesting. And yeah, you're not necessarily exploring everywhere, but everything that is there is so interesting you don't feel like you're missing anything.
Yeah, each side quest I've done so far feels much more handcrafted rather than like the cut and paste. Like we come from the same prefab. Each map, like the layout, it actually does feel unique, and there's something kind of different to do in each one.
Well, and the environments in the main missions are really, really great. Like the prison you go to is really, really cool.
Inhumane. Unacceptable. Violation of basic organic dignity.
Is there something I can do for you?
There's no excuse for beating a prisoner.
If you actually stop to look out the windows and just kind of poke around and see the sights, they put a lot of thought into the game, and it looks so much better than the first one. And it's also not stuttery.
Then that's the key part. I mean, it looks and performs, and it's like the production values are just from the beginning. Like when you put the game in and you're 20 minutes in, you're going to see things that you never saw in the first game. The first game couldn't have even done it if they wanted to. And the fact that like frame rate is not an issue at all. It may dip every now and again, but even then it rarely if ever happens. And as someone who just went back and played through the first Mass Effect, there are areas where, man, that game is really chugging.
Taking cover! Hey!
What intrigues me about Mass Effect 2, I mean, I'm still fairly early in the game, is that there are so many different factors in combat, and you have different kinds of ammunition. You have the cryo ammunition, you have the incendiary ammo, and there's also like disruptor ammo.
So like stuff too.
So when you go up against a guy with a shield, you might need to swap out ammo really fast so you can disrupt it with disruptor ammo. But then when they get down to have no shields and they're just armor, you want to use incendiary armor.
It's like a weird real-time sci-fi version of like D&D where you have to use this counter spell to counteract that kind of shield. Like if he has a +5 magic shield, you gotta use the magic striker as opposed to the magic smiter kind of thing. But so things like shielded guys with shields needs disruptor ammo, guys with armor you should use incendiary, and then all sorts of crazy.
Not just the ammo, but like the types of guns are dependent. So I found myself, you know, I go with kind of to take their shields down. I use my submachine gun. I'm playing as a Vanguard. Take their shields down. Then when I go to armor, I go to my like heavy pistol, take their armor down, and then once that's over, I can kind of do whatever. But yeah, it's funny. Like as Vanguard, you started as the incendiary ammo, which is cool because it sets guys on fire. They react to it.
Healing as well.
Especially is effective against Krogan enemies when you're fighting them because they regenerate very fast. But once I got the cryo ammo, that kind of changed everything because it has a chance of freezing on contact no matter where their health is.
And then they just kind of fall over.
Well, what I do is I as a Vanguard, I have this charge ability, which basically it has me phase shift, and I just fly towards whatever enemy. I fly through solid objects, I go through anything, and if they're frozen, you just fly until they shatter.
But the charge thing, which I joke is like, it's like you walk like Shadowcat, but you stop like Juggernaut. Is it because you run through things, but when you hit someone at the end, it just
That's a
obliterates
really
them.
dirty comparison. I'm gonna say it's the first BioWare game that doesn't feel like a BioWare game.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, ever since they went 3D with KOTOR, like their games have a really stop-start stuttery
Oh
feel.
yeah, I
And
mean
this
like
one's
KOTOR,
really fluid.
as great as it is still essentially you hit a button and like you watch 3 combat animations going for the period of time.
Right, but I mean, Mass Effect was the same way. Dragon Age is the
Yeah.
same way.
Yeah.
But
But
this feels like a much smoother overall experience.
Absolutely the most polished game they've ever put out.